tuned into Tomcat Tales, the story of Ashland's legends from the gridiron, the court, the diamond, and beyond. It's a deep dive into Ashland Tomcat sports history. Now, here's your host, Mark Maynard.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Tomcat Tales. Today we have a gentleman who has been around the block, I'd say, a few times around the block, maybe, in this region. He has coached a long time, several decades. I know I'm trying to make you sound old, Bill Bradley, but that's just how it is. And we're glad to have you on here. You've been a tremendous coach, and I know our lives kind of parallel a little bit as far as when we grew up and the people we've seen play around here. And so I'm looking forward to talking to you about all that.
It's going to be a real treat. I really appreciate you having me on.
All right. So I can't believe this is your 20th season as the Kittens, Ashland Kittens basketball coach. It just seems like that. Just you told me that the other day, and I was blown away. I could not believe it. Does it seem that way to you? I mean, it's just flashed by, hasn't it?
It has, and I remember the day I actually got the job at AD, of course, and Mark Swift, and of course he's been with me the whole time up until this year. And I got home, and there was an Ashland hat on my doorstep because we only lived 3 blocks away from each other. And I remember seeing that hat, putting it on, and it just seems like yesterday. It's really, really gone by fast.
So was that a little odd putting that thing on, or you'd been, of course, at Boyd County for years, and you coached the Lady Lions softball team for 15 years, and of course you coached with Roger on the basketball team. I mean, putting the rival hat on, that had to be kind of tough.
Well, it goes back further than that. They were a mortal enemy out of the Hoy family, and of course during the 70s and really into the 80s, we really competed with Ashland, several times in the regional finals, 3 times in 10 years, and it goes way back. But then of course I went to the to the county, and again, bitter rivals. And when I came to Ashland, those first couple of games we played Boyd County, you had traitor signs at the stands, and it was fun. It was always fun, but it was a great time.
Yeah, you have coached. We talked about this the other day, and you probably hadn't even thought about it, but 35 years of coaching girls. I mean, not something you probably planned on. And just like I'm not sure you planned on being in 20 years at Ashland, at this point. But I guess life happens, and obviously it's worked out for you pretty well. It is.
I was totally content with the boys and had no plans on ever coaching girls. And I got the job at Boyd County teaching at Callisburg Junior High at the time. And the AD at Boyd County at the time was Jeep Clark. And he came to school and congratulated me on getting the job and wanted to know, obviously, if I wanted to be assistant coach of basketball. Yeah. And he asked me if I wanted to start a softball program with girls. And I said, well, I don't know too much about, coaching girls, never have, so I think I'll pass. And he said, now, do you have tenure yet? I said, no. He said, well, let me ask you again. Do you think you might want to start a softball program? I said, yes, sir. So I'm all in. So
just a little arm twist in there, maybe, right?
Just a little bit. And I'm so glad I did. That was such a great experience for me. And starting the program and, winning a regional championship in '93. In fact, I think it's still the only one that Boyd County ever won in softball. And
wow.
And it was great, though.
Yeah. Well, it's been a good ride for you. You've been really successful. Both softball, you were very successful, and at basketball, you got 4 regional titles. You got a semifinal appearance. You have to feel, pretty blessed, I guess, to have had great athletes for one, and you've had great coaches with you too, and all that kind of works together, I guess.
No question. We pulled out the article the other day, and when I first got the job, and the quotes that I gave was, we want to win about 20 games a year, win some districts, maybe some regionals, and maybe you can go to the state tournament and contend with the state. And, we pretty much covered all that. But again, it's all the players. I've had unbelievable talent, and and the coaching staff, has been top notch all the way through. I've had great, loyal coaches, and I couldn't ask for better.
You mentioned Holy Family. Of course, you went graduated from Holy Family, and you coached there, and you played under Bill Carroll. And to me, Bill Carroll and Roger Zorn's probably the two of the greatest defensive coaches in 16th region history. Really, would you say? Are you more or less like them philosophy-wise, or have you kind of morphed into your own philosophy? I know you're kind of defensive-minded too. Your teams always are. Anyway, what would you say about that?
Yeah, it really goes back to my roots with Bill Carroll. He was half-court, man-to-man, kind of Bobby Knight style defense. Didn't press much at all. Naturally, we can only go 6 or 7 deep typically at Holy Family, so we couldn't send people in and out like Roger did with his pressing. And but Roger played a lot of man-to-man too. He always saved that 3-2 zone for the tournaments, but he was full court man-to-man press, running jump defense, and and that's really helped me as far as our philosophy too. We can adjust either way now. Different groups I've had, our best defensive team was we just played half-court man with the Robinsons and Chelsea Woodson, those guys. We just lock people up. And but yeah, you're right. It goes back to Bill Carroll days, really.
Yeah, of course, Bill. I mean, he did a lot with less than a lot of other teams had. But Holy Family, like you said, 60s and 70s, even into the 80s, really, they were pretty formidable. Really, I mean, they could beat just about anybody around here on a given night. I mean, I know they didn't ever win the region, but they came close a couple times. And when you think of that little tiny school doing that well, it's pretty amazing, really, what they were able to accomplish.
It was, with no recruiting, we just stuck with our kids we had there, and we're all really a big family. We were, and everybody in the school showed up, and the parents for ball games, and the big wins we had over the years were always cherished. And even though we didn't go to the state tournament, we went to, like I said, the regionals 3 times, and 70, 71, 79, and 80, and just came so close to those daggone Tomcats. Took us down all 3 times.
Yeah, they sure did. You all had you all ruined a few AITs though over the years for sure. Because of course back then the AIT, if you lost your first game, that was it. The tournament is over for you. And I can remember a couple of them that were just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe Holy Family beat Ashland. So I can remember those games. I'm telling you, just growing up, just going to those games and watching that and being stunned, and all the names, the Brislins, the Lanes, the Bradleys, the Stewarts, all these great names and families that went through. And, you're right. It was, groups of people like that, but you lost them too. Some of the kids transferred to Ashland or maybe other places. I don't know. I know Ashland certainly got their share of good Holy Family kids through the years. So, I'm sure playing Ashland back then that was a big deal, because Ashland they were kind of the top dog, in the 60s and 70s. So beating them was quite a feather in the cap, I guess,
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah, Ashland was it. There's no question about it. They obviously won the state in 61, won again in 62, and got beat in the finals. And I know one year we beat them in the AIT. They were number 1 in the state. And that's probably the biggest win in Holy Family history, I'd say, when they upset them in the first round of AIT in 67, I think it was. But that was huge. And, of course, when I was a sophomore, we beat Ashland AIT and made to the finals against Mayo and got thrashed. But
I was going to say, that wasn't pretty, but that wasn't pretty for anybody.
No. Yes, exactly.
But, and it's kind of funny, that Ashland, picked Holy Family to play a couple times there when you guys weren't bad, and but those were I know those are great memories for you. And you look back and you play against, plus the Ashland guys, you played against them probably all summer at the pool and all that kind of thing, because that's what we did back then, back in the 70s. So you knew those kids, you knew everybody.
Yeah, and we're buddies still today. Daddy Evans and Jeff Wilcox, Greg Conley, Ronnie Conley, Coach Dodd. I mean, all these guys we played against, and Dale Lynch and Dwayne Farrow. You know, those guys. We all mixed and matched down at Dawson or at the park or at the pool, and you know, that was real basketball, you know, back then. And we really, but again, we stay in touch now, and it was great to hear from those guys when I talked to them.
Yeah. So you coached at Holy Family too, right, for a few years?
6 years, yeah. 3 years assistant, 3 years head.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So who was the head coach when you were the assistant? Was it
Mike Sherman?
Mike. Okay, that's right. Yeah. So I mean, those teams, my goodness, those were some great teams there. You know. My first year was Randy Mason, and because he coached at Callisburg too when they shut the school down there, and then he left, and then Mike Sherman came on, and I was his assistant for 2 years. Yeah, and so you were an assistant on the really good team that almost won it, that had a great shot at it for sure.
Yeah, 79 and 80, we made those finals, and we're the ones who stopped Paul Coach Patterson's. I think he won. It was 43 or 63 in a row in the region. I think it was 63, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Well, maybe. Of course, it wasn't him. It was Ernie. That was the coach.
Paul then Ernie, and then we beat him in the district finals in 80,
right.
And then so 6 days later they beat us in the regional finals.
Right. So yeah, some real great memories there, and like I said, I know, you know, looking back, when you look back on it, I'm sure you see a lot of things like you said that you learned from Bill Carroll from playing for him, and you know, tough guy to play for. I mean, he, you know, you guys ran things to perfection, and I know that took a lot of practice, a lot of work, a lot of you better know what you're doing, because he didn't put up with too much nonsense, did he?
No, he didn't, and you know, it's we really only needed a half court in our practice, you know, except for our wind sprints we did. We didn't fast break, you know. You start that offense and run it through again. And defensively, you know, just ball you man, you know, half courts, close the gaps, and over and over and over. You get 2 hours, you know, it's all we did, half court offense, half court defense. And, yeah, but he was real successful with it. He was a combination of looking back like a Bobby Knight, Pete Carrill, you know, the kind of combination of those two.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can just remember the screens and the ways you guys got open, and you know, he just found ways for people to get good shots, basically, you know, and that was the secret to the success. You know, that's why they won. I mean, against teams that they shouldn't have had any business beating.
It was funny you mentioned the screens, because Junebug Rakes, you know, great player at Boyd County and Kentucky Wesleyan, we were playing pickup ball when he came back, and down at Callisburg, and had to be 3 or 4 Holy Family guys on one side. And this was, you know, 15, 20 years after we graduated. And here we are, us guys half court in a pickup game, passing 10 times and picking. And he couldn't believe it. He said, boys, this is pickup ball. What are you doing? And but we was just inbred in us, you know, it's just the way we played.
Yeah. I can remember it well, you know, and I'm sure, do you use still some of that half court offense with the Kittens? Do you teach some of that?
Absolutely, and it's funny because you know, Roger was so up and down, but the last couple of years we weren't quite as deep, and we called it 2-guard, and he said, put some of that 2-guard in, you guys used to run, and so he put some of the stuff in there, and then when he went to Ironton to coach, he took it over there with him, and we were running some of the stuff here with the Kittens, and I remember Tyler Zorn getting a layup in the regional finals before he hit the big shot. A couple of times before that, he got a layup off our 2-guard offense. And so just Bill Carroll stuff, you know, just take it down, run it through, and set the picks.
Right. And if it takes running it through 4 times, then okay, that's okay. You know, we'll keep doing it till we get the layup. And you know, that really frustrates other teams too, I think, you know, that play good defense for a while, but then all of a sudden you lose your man, you get screened, somebody doesn't pick up, and you know, it's very demoralizing, you know, for for a defense, I think, and frustrating, especially for a team that wants to kind of get it and go, you know.
It is, and I think he'd sell it. You know, he said, "No, nobody wants to play defense more than 10 or 15 seconds. You guys be patient, run it through. Somebody will get lax or just forget to call a switch, and then you'll end up getting the layups somewhere along the line."
Yeah, you're right. I can remember Rogers last year as a Boyd, where he would just isolate people, you know, just almost one-on-one, you know, and it was set up to, you know, and when Tyler was there, of course, when his son Tyler, who's such a good scorer, you know, he was going to give him as many opportunities as he could, and that, you know, worked out pretty well for them to be able to do that. You know, you can't, I don't know that you do that every time, but when you got somebody like that, you know, let's get him free and see what he can do. So that, you know, you had some exciting moments with Boyd County, didn't you? I mean, being on that, and that coaching roster, my goodness, that was an all-star team right there.
It was. We had, you know, just going back and looking at it, because we had Brock Walter, who played for Roger and for Boyd County, and Pete Fraley was on the staff for a while, and
right.
Kevin Sisler was on the staff for a while, Dave Toller, and of course Phil Pratt, who won a region at Knott County, was on the staff, and he was kind of the defensive guru on the squad. And then you had the calming force and Bobby Sparks, you know.
Yeah, right.
He was just awesome.
Yeah, that was really a great staff, though, really, and you know, it paid off with a lot of trips to Rupp Arena for you guys too, you know, through that time. So, and like I say, I see some of Bill in you, Bill Carroll, and I see some of Roger in you, and I see just some of you in you with the way you handle people. You know, you're very personable, and you know, it looks as if for sure the kids really enjoy playing for you. And I always admired that about a coach, because I think, you know, if kids aren't having fun, you know, what's the point? You know. But your kids always seemed like they had fun. I mean, all your teams did, and I really enjoyed that about it. And you didn't take yourself too seriously either, which is always a good trait too, I think.
No, you know, my wife Laura takes care of that. You know, anytime we think we're getting even an inkling of getting a big head, she takes care of that for me at home. That's not going to happen. And yeah, that's what Coach Whittick, we were talking one day, and we all agree as a staff all the way through. Even when Coach Cook was here with me and all of them, we said, hey, 20 years down the road, we want to all look back and think it was a great experience. You know, win, lose, draw, it didn't matter. That's the most important thing. That we love to win. I hate to lose, but you know, here the ones that I coach now are having kids, and you know, they're bringing the kids by to let us look at them. We talk about them. Kids get married. Sid Keller just got married Saturday, and we're so happy for her for that. And her sister Carly's playing for me right now, so that was all that stuff. You know, we look fondly upon.
I know. I know when I knew I'd been around a long time covering Tomcat sports or sports around here, really. When I started covering the sons of guys that I'd covered, you know, I'm like, okay, have I been around that long? What in the world is this?
Exactly.
But it happened a lot. I mean, it happened a lot because, you know, I was there for 42 years, so that's going to happen for sure. But it's, you know, I do look at, you know, another thing we haven't mentioned yet, and I want to talk about it, is you might have the longest running pickup basketball tournament in this part of the world with Clem. Now this year, did you get to play this year?
We did not. It was we've gone 38 straight years to have it, and this is the first year we were going to miss it. It was pretty devastating for a lot of people. You know, I got so many phone calls and emails when the virus kind of slowed down just a bit. You know, they said, okay, give us 2 weeks and let's have it. You know, of course, we just couldn't do it. You know, again, Laura's in the medical profession, and she just said there's no way you can have it this year. So, and we agreed, and that's by our family who really runs it. We all agreed that this put it off to next year, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, what a great tradition that is. I mean, and that's another one you probably can't believe 38 years, that you've done that. And it is kind of funny how those numbers kind of sneak up on you, but you guys have, and certainly that would have been the ultimate non-social distancing event of the summer. Had you
no
put it
question,
off, it was the super spreader.
It is. I think the year before we counted, there was like over 250 people there, and then I went to outside, but we're all jamming there together. And of course, guys playing ball, they're hanging all over each other, and but yeah, it's so sad we couldn't have it, but it'll be back. It'll be back.
Yeah. I know. We run the wiffle ball tournament. We felt the same way. It's like, oh man, this is so disappointing, but. I may have 2 wiffle ball tournaments next year just to make up for it.
There you go. No question.
Hopefully we get everything, all this stuff straightened out.
That's right.
But the names that have played in the Clem. Oh my goodness. I mean, it's a who's who of basketball from the 16th region. I mean, some of the greatest names to ever play around here have played in that, and maybe won the tournament, or maybe not.
Yes. It's
pretty competitive, isn't it?
It is, we had Junebug, Art McCullough, Dave Lane, Brad Taylor, Jimmy Spencer, Jason Goad, Joda Burgess, Dew Foley, just going down the line, guys who have won regional MVPs, regional championships, all state teams, and, but, we're all treated equally when you get on that court. We don't care if these guys who come in from out of town, they don't know these guys, so they'll rough them up. And Danny Coleman brought 6 or 7 guys from Louisville who doesn't know any of us, They jump right in there, and but it's real competitive, and it's a great tradition. But we'll get it back next year.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad to hear. I knew you would. I mean, and at last I'd heard you hadn't been able to play, so I didn't know for sure that it didn't go on. But you can still kind of celebrate next year's 40 anyway. It's been 40 years for sure. So that's great. That's a good thing. So, we've talked about your Holy Family days, certainly your Boyd County days, and let's talk about the Kittens a little bit. I mean, that you had that one great run, four championships in a row, and made it to the semifinals in 2014. That had to be just what an experience. That had to be. Can you talk about that and just how great that was?
It was, I remember when we kind of turned the corner was probably 07, 08 when we upset Boyd in the districts, and then we made the regional finals in 08 with Laisha Ward and Chelsea Diedrich and those guys. And then I had a heartbreaker in 11 when we had beaten Boyd County 4 times that season, but they beat us in the regional finals. And then that's the next year we started 4 in a row, and it culminated, of course, in 14 when we made it to the semis. And actually Boyd County beat us in the district finals that year, and we had to come back. And I'll never forget it because Alexis Robinson, she didn't talk too much. She just went there and played and followed orders and kind of ran the show. But we didn't talk too much at all. But I remember after that loss in the district, she came up to me and she saw, she just started looking at my face. She said, "Hey, Coach, we got it. Don't worry about it." And she never had said anything like that before. And sure enough, we won the region and made to the state. Won the first game. Shelby Gransbury, I think, had 26 the first game, and then she blew her ankle out in the second half of the second game when we beat Danville. Wow. And we really thought if she tried to play it, but there's no way. She played about 2 minutes in the semifinal game and just couldn't go. And we really think that we could have won the whole thing if she would be able to play. She was really on a good roll at the time. Yeah, wow, that's something. You talked about Boyd County. You and Pete, of course, good friends, I know, and 2 great coaches. And you guys go at each other. I mean, it's been a great rivalry to watch. From and it's a friendly rivalry. It's nothing. You both are competitive is the thing, and you both want to beat the other so bad that you can't hardly stand it. But he's and his teams are much like yours, and man, when you guys play, it's almost like a fist fight. I mean, it's it's rough. It's you wouldn't think girls would play like that, but boy, they do, don't they? They really do, and my daughter Morgan, she played, and she's pretty mild-mannered, but I remember her and the Borders girls really going at it, slinging each other down and throwing elbows and really overdoing it, kind of like the Clem would be played, and but that started all the way back to Stacy Runyon and Heidi Perdue and Ashley Renfro in the first years, Pam Farrow and Devin Reams, and ever since those first days, I saw right away that it was very much like the boys when I was at Boyd County and we played Ashland. It was going to be a war, and I didn't realize how much the girls were like that too till I got over here.
Yeah, you find they're pretty competitive too, and like who they play for, like wearing Ashland on their jersey or Kittens or whatever.
No doubt.
And like I say, Pete's a great guy, and I'm not, and I'll just tell you, you two guys would be on my Mount Rushmore of girls basketball in the 16th region. I mean, both of you would be there. I'm not sure who the other two would be right off the top of my head. Probably Hop would have to be one of them. But
no doubt about Hop. He'd be on there.
But you guys, you guys have really elevated, I think, girls basketball in the 16th region with how your teams have played. Because people have to play up to that standard. And you both won your share of huge games. You both had your share of, disappointing losses, too. Even in the state, Pete lost in the semis too a couple of years ago, right?
He did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Yeah, and
we
it's
both
tough,
lost. Yeah, we both lost to the eventual state champs too. So, but yeah, you're right. I think it really started with Hop and when Hager got to East. It really helped the region having see that close rivalry in that county really go at it, and Hager brought East Carter up from not a very good program to one of the best around. Of course, Hop was already there. And I think it really helped the region with us and Boyd being in the same district going at it, and they saw how we went at it, and everybody else kind of wanted to elevate their programs to see that kind of rivalry in each district.
Yeah, I mean, I look around the region now, and there's a lot of good teams. It's not even 20 years ago it wasn't like that.
No.
Even when you started at Ashland, it wasn't like that really.
No,
of course,
no.
I think too, West Carter winning the championship in 2000 was huge for the 16th region. Just to that kind of showed it could be done. And it's not like it can't ever happen. Yeah, it can. It did for them.
Yeah, so. You got to remember how far Rose Hill went. They went to the finals, and
sure did
those years. And Rowan County made it to the Final Four, and then of course we did, and Pete did. But you're right. Since West Carter, that really put us on the map, and I knew how much they respected our region because after we graduated, almost everybody after Alexis and Haley Sue and Shelby and those girls graduated, the next year they still had us in the preseason at like 18th in the state. There's no way we're 18th in the state after the graduate. Right. That just showed the respect that the state had for us.
Right. You developed a bit of a reputation, for playing good basketball at that point. So, yeah.
Right.
Right. I think, and you have probably seen this too, Ashland's name carries some weight. Just because I think of their overall sports history, really, it just does. I mean, I know people around here might not like to hear that, but there's no question it's the truth. I mean, I have seen it played out, not just around here, but other people that play Ashland. There is a certain aura about them, I guess, that a lot of schools don't have.
No, and again, it goes back to Holy Family days. We walk into this gym and see that those banners and the Tomcat. It affected us. There's no doubt about it. And I was at Boyd before. Of course, I was graduated '73, and that's when Phil Pratt and Davey Wooten, break the mold as far as Boyd County, and they upset Ashland in the region in the districts. And I'm talking to Phil Pratt. He said that jersey, man, that Ashland jersey, and none of them will wear maroon. Pete will not wear maroon, anything. I remember he came to an AIT, because they were in the AIT, and Janice gave him umbrellas. Of course, the maroon and white, you know. And Pete I think he just left it here. He take it with him, you know. And
yeah, he's definitely.
You're right.
He's definitely boy through and through. But yeah, it carries some weight. I think, you know, it carries some respect or something. I don't know what it is exactly.
It does. Yeah, Menifee County came in. Menifee County came in, I think, 2 years ago. They had a pretty good team 2 years ago, girls, and they never had played here before, ever. And they walked in and saw that pool, and then walked in and saw those banners, and they were pretty much on par with us. And we got to like a 20-2 lead, and then they finally settled down. But he told me after the game, he said they're beat. So they walked in, they saw that pool and those banners and that jersey. They were beat. And so you're right, it carries a lot of weight around here.
Yeah, for sure. Who would have thought those Holy Family teams you played for when you came in that gym, and how much you probably hated those guys that you'd spend so much time in that gym. You know, later in life. I mean, it is something. I know from you coached competitive boys and now competitive girls. Can you talk about the difference in coaching boys and girls? I mean, there has to be a difference. I know there's still basketball, and I still get that, and strategies and different things, but there's got to be some differences there that are unique.
There is. Just a couple, and I was kind of told this when I first got the job. It might have been Hop who told me this. He said, be careful the differences with the girls. You got to be careful who you single out as far as one-on-one in front of the other girls to chew out, to really rip, you know, and because they don't forget. But certain ones you can. The boys, it didn't matter. You could pick any of them and get on them and tear them, and they wouldn't care. They'd get over it. But the girls, you got to be careful. So we were pretty much careful. I never forgot that. And there's always one or two you can kind of get on like boys, you know, and they could take it. But you had to be real careful of the other one. That's definitely one thing. You had to be careful who you picked out to really ride in front of everybody. You could when you got them alone, but no, as far as that goes, you had to be careful. But Coach Whittick heard a quote from a college coach. I can't remember who it was, but it went something like this. Boys are happy when they win. Girls have to be happy to win. And that's pretty close to the truth, you know. And, you know, our staff this year is Matt Robinson and Phil Whittick and Jordan Smith and, you know, Kim Owen all those years, and Mark Littoral, one of our good friends. You know, he kind of taught me a lot of stuff, too, because he was with the girls so long with Connie and those people. And he said, they gotta know you love them. They got to know you love them. And that's kind of the bottom line, really.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. And like I said, I've seen plenty of competitive girls. I mean, the will to win is pretty strong. You know, it's not like they still want to win, I guess what I'm trying to say. But there are some things like that I can understand, you know, where it would be a little different. They get their feelings hurt a little easier, maybe, I guess you might say, you know, where they don't want to be embarrassed, you know, in front of their peers, which nobody
exactly
does, but boys do tend to get over that a little quicker.
Totally agree.
You coached your daughter too, though. Is that how different is that?
Well, it was okay. You know, I learned a lot from when Coach Pratt, of course, John Stacy was on the squad, and he coached him, and then Casey with Bobby. You know, Casey Sparks with Bobby,
sure.
And then you had Tyler with Roger. And I saw how, you know, some of the stuff that I thought maybe they were doing wrong with their kids, and obviously some stuff they're doing right, how they handle them and all that. So I learned a lot from those three guys with their kids, and that really helped me a lot with Morgan. And of course, you know, Laura was such a competitor when she played. My wife when she played at Bowie County, and you know, Morgan had a lot of that in her too. So I could ride her pretty well, and but, you know, one thing I told myself when she first started playing, once the game ended, we never discussed the game. And all those years she played for me, 5 years, once that horn went off, we never one time discussed the game, the car, at home, whatever. We always wait till we got back to the gym. And that was a real big piece of advice that I'd give anybody. Just don't talk about it. get in the car, go home, and now your family again, and don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good because it would be easy to do that because they're in the car with you and can't believe you messed that inbounds play up, or I can't, where you are constantly coaching them, and they don't want that,
No, they'll get home and let's put that film up and watch what happened in the last quarter. That just goes, to me, that's crazy. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah. And I've seen, we've had a lot of coaches, sons and daughters, through the years, and it's interesting how each one has handled it, and I think you were wise that there were some good things people did, and there were some bad things that, you wouldn't certainly recommend, you don't want to tell anybody how to raise a kid or anything, but,
right.
There's just things that happen that you see, and you're just like, I keep that in the back of my mind, if this ever happens to me, but, I'm sure you look back now too, though, and she does too, probably pretty fondly at the years you got to spend with her, the extra time you got to spend with her that a lot of dads don't get, when their girl's an athlete, maybe.
I really enjoyed coaching her, and she's such a good kid. She's at Louisville now, doing well, and she's swarmy, and try to cope with all this nonsense with the virus. And I think she has one class where she actually attends. It's a lab class, and the rest of them are virtual. So, but she's handled that well too. And she's a strong kid, and she'll be all right. But we going back and looking at it, we had a great time together.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, it's not always about all the wins and losses as much as do you have good memories, of when you were in school and when you were playing on this team, because it's a lot about the team building and you don't want to look back at it with regret, I guess,
Yeah.
And
she had such a great time with the soccer team. They went to the Final Four undefeated regular season, and her and the Huff girls are best buddies, and of course Michaela Mark was on that team, and it was really a great experience for her there too.
Yeah, that you think about Ashland last year, unbelievable when you think the soccer team goes undefeated all year, gets to the Final Four, right?
Final Four, yeah.
Yeah, they lost for the first time, and the basketball team doesn't lose, which, can you imagine even that happening? I mean, and I can't see it ever happening again.
No. And even Mandy, I talked to Mandy, Sterling Lane, at Russell, and they are so happy to win the region. That was a great game against Boyd County. They beat them in the finals. And in fact, I was in the gym, and they were the next game to warm up for the next games in the afternoon session, and they stopped the session right there. So everybody go home. And but that's pretty devastating for her too. But the boys too with Coach Mays. And of course my nephew started for him, Justin, and it was awful. It was plumb awful.
Oh yeah, that's true. I thought Justin, man, what a great player he was for them. My goodness, I mean, such a good defender, and just I know they called him the glue guy. He really seemed that way. He hit some big shots, and that had to be. You probably saw at least all the home games, I'm sure.
We did.
It's tough when you're coaching. It's kind of some of those nights you're coaching somewhere, I guess. But
correct. Or scouting. Yeah, you're scouting. You're right.
Or trying to catch up with something. But it's I don't know. I hope that everybody really took in what that season was, because it is a Haley's Comet. I mean, I just, no matter how good you are, I think about that West Carter girls team, Hops team.
Yes.
They lost one,
Yeah.
61 Tomcats. How good were they? They lost one.
Yes.
Undefeated?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. It's just,
when
it's really.
When Billows hit that shot, at West Carter, you knew, this is crazy. Like you said, Haley's Comet. This is about what it is. And you hit a 75-foot shot on the run and to win a game.
Yeah.
That pretty much typified the whole season.
That said a lot right there, I think.
It did.
I think it got everybody believing, hey, this can really happen, But, that's a lot of pressure on the team. And you guys probably, your 2014 team in particular, I think, maybe felt some of that pressure. We need to win this region. We're not going undefeated, but, I mean, you do have that, when you're the favorite, it's tough, It can get to you if you let it, I guess. You can use it, I think, to your advantage, and but sometimes it gets pretty overwhelming, and add undefeated on top of that, and you're like,
right, yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah, we were lucky. We had Alexis, she was called the Ice Queen, never any emotion and all that. So the pressure really never got to her, and they all looked up to her, and that's what kind of got us through the pressure part of it there. But the boys last year with Billers and Porter and Justin and Huddy and all of them, they were such a great team, and they worked so well together. They looked like Golden State did a few years ago. The passing and it was unbelievable. Unbelievable the teamwork they had.
Yeah, there was a chemistry there that, and I think that's the key to being great. You got to have that. You got to have the chemistry. They didn't really seem to care who scored, who did what. It wasn't important. The only thing that mattered was, are we going to win?
Getting that W. That's right.
And it's interesting because I've done a lot of history and talking and research on Ashland's baseball teams from the 60s. And, they had an undefeated season too. Their first state championship, they were 25-0. And,
right.
And talking to Bob Lynch and Bill and a lot of those other guys too, they said, we never thought about it. We never thought about that we were being undefeated. We knew we just win. That's what we do. We go out and we win.
Right.
You didn't even, losing wasn't even in their mind,
Right.
But there was never a doubt, we're going to win. We're going to win. If we lose, it's like, what? That doesn't happen to us. And,
exactly.
And it didn't happen to them very often,
No.
But, you look back on Ashland history, and they've only had one undefeated football team, and it had a tie. They weren't perfect. They were perfect minus, I guess, if you consider a tie a negative.
Right.
But and look at how great their football program's been. But tough to go undefeated, And I don't know.
Really.
I think basketball or baseball, for that matter, I guess, would be the two toughest ones. Soccer too, really. When I think about how close all those games are, that you win every one of them. That's remarkable what those girls did.
It really was. Along the same lines, they never thought about it. Morgan never not one time mentioned, I want to go undefeated. She never mentioned it one time. They just went out and played, and they knew they were going to win, like you said. Even they fell behind in the regional final against Round County. So after the game, I asked them, did y'all feel pressure about losing? They said, no, we knew we'd get a couple goals. We have Abby Huff, and no problem.
Uh-huh.
And sure enough, they scored 5 goals in like 7 minutes or something like that.
So did you become a soccer aficionado a little bit from watching all that?
Well, when she was like 6 down in Greenup, they had by the airport down there, Worthington. That was their first time playing, and they're on that little snake following around, 7 girls, and blah blah blah. But went through that, and then she got a couple of travel teams, and but I still don't know the rules. So 4 years later, I still don't know the rules. And finally, when she got to middle school, I said, I guess she's gonna stick with it. I better learn the rules, and then once I got into it, and then by the time she was a senior, I knew every little, being a coach, you look at all the little things, and I knew every angle and every position and every rule, and I really got into it the last year and a half or so. Yeah,
I know. I went through a lot of that. I honestly didn't cover that much soccer when I was at the paper. Of course, I was the boss, so I had other people doing it, or whatever.
Sure.
But my son Stephen played at Rose Hill, and
right.
It took 4 years of watching him. I'm still not sure I understand it, you know. So went on. But I when you have one playing in it does make a difference, obviously, you know. You try to understand it anyway, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a great sport though, and you know those girls did it as well as anybody could possibly do it. And you know, E.D. Lohman, you know, we talked to him. He's just shy of 30 years, right, coaching the girls.
Yes.
So and Bob Stacy, I don't know how long he will never quit coaching probably.
No,
and
he coached Laura at Boyd County with cross country back at 91 or 92, whatever. So he's been at least doing it that long anyway.
Oh, I covered him when he won the state championship in 1980 with the Boyd County girls. So yeah, wow. So and he was coaching before that. So yeah. You know, he's right up there for sure. And of course, he's one of the Hall of Fame, KHSAA Hall of Fame guys that didn't get to have their ceremony this spring, along with Bob Lynn. So, you know, I think they're going to try to do that again next spring or something. But anyway, I hope so. COVID's just been awful, that's for sure. So how have you guys handled that, Bill? We'll talk just a little bit about that, and I'll let you get off here. But how's COVID been? Has it been tough practice and all that?
Well, at first, because we want to get into more than just dribbling up and down the floor and getting some shooting drills. So finally they relaxed it a little bit, and we could do some one-on-one, that kind of stuff. And then when real practice started, the 26th, we really have enjoyed the last 3 weeks. But we got a routine. You know, we have our take our temperature, mark it down, go through the process, go through the questionnaire every day. Then we got to wait 15 minutes for the boys to get done, to let the air clear out of the gym. That we go in and we're so used to it now. And with me wearing a mask, teaching Hoy family, and and in the gym, I don't even think twice about having the mask on. Doesn't bother me at all. And of course, the girls not wearing one. And we talked to Carly Cullip, who's our captain, yesterday. And, Mikasa at Louisville, they have to wear masks the whole practice. The players do. And with this stuff really going rampant right now, we talked to Carly maybe about having the girls wear the mask during practice. And she agreed. So we want to find something that are comfortable, but we may start wearing masks, the players as well, in practice starting in a couple of days probably.
Man, that is just crazy. But I guess you just adjust. If you want to play, you do what you have to do to make that happen. Are we going to get this season in? What you have any thought? You have any fear? Or you just go on and you play and you see what happens? I guess that's all you can do, really.
We're gonna practice like we're going to, but I talked to Coach Graham yesterday at Ironton, and he's got 3 in quarantine, and of course Lewis County already canceled the boys' game against Ashland, opening game, and I talked to different ADs, and I kind of asked around a little bit, and they think if we get 4 games in a month, be happy, and then get 12, 13 games in, then wherever we can play the state tournament. If we got to push it back and not have it in Rupp, maybe go to Frankfurt or Richmond or Memorial Coliseum. We don't care. So long as we're out there playing somewhere. But it's going to be tight, brother. It's going to be tight.
Yeah. And like I said, I know nobody knows, that's kind of the problem with it. But hopefully we get this vaccine that they're talking about, and, everything kind of returns to a little bit of normal anyway. One thing I want to mention too that we hit on a little bit, but you've had great assistant coaches too over your tenure at Ashland, and you really have. You guys have a good time. You can tell, guys and girls, and you want to mention them or some of them, or talk about just their value to the Kittens.
Yes. Well, this year, Matt Robinson has, of course, he's had his girls and Devontae, basketball 24/7 since they're 6 years old, and obviously it's paid off with full scholarships for Mikasa and Devontae and Alexis, and so he's got that energy, But Coach Whittick's been with me for 19 years now, and of course he played for me at Holy Family, so he kind of knows what I want to do. And Jordan Smith played for me back in '09, and so she knows. But Steve Cook, he really showed me the way as far as how Ashland does things when I first got here. He was so helpful with that. And of course, Kimberly Owen, I really got to mention her because she was a JV coach during that stretch when we won our 4 in a row, and she could have been a great head coach, but she was just kind of got burnt out on it. She didn't want to. She just wanted to teach, and but she was a monster coach for us. Of course, I had Dale White all those years as well, doing the freshman.
Mm-hmm.
He's another one that bleeds that maroon, and he made sure the girls know that, you're with Ashland. It's tradition. You wear that jersey in pride. He's a lot about that. And Stephanie DeWitt helped a few years, and I've just been very lucky. Mark Literal, he's another one that showed me how the girls' game is handled and the way it should be played, and tradition again when he was Connie and all that. And but no, without those guys, forget it, man. Forget it. Wouldn't be near the success we would have had.
Yeah. I know they mean a lot. And I know, like we mentioned, I know Roger Zorns felt the same way about all you guys too. When you were assistants for him, and it wasn't like you're just sitting over there on the bench doing nothing. You're really part of it, and I'm sure that's the way you coach too. Well, I know it is because I've watched you. Everybody's opinion has value. It's not just what
Absolutely.
I think or what I say. So. You've definitely had some good ones, and we've talked about so many. I wouldn't even begin to start mentioning players because there's been some great ones that have come through, and sisters and everything else, through that 19 years. So
no question.
Number 20, we'll see what happens. I guess you guys going to be pretty good, or what? You have a feeling on
so. Yeah, Michaela, she blew her knee out playing summer ball back in June, but she's really worked herself to death getting back. And I think if we do play, I think we'll get her back near the end of January. But even without her, I think we're still top 3 or 4. Obviously Boyd County is loaded this year with the transfers they got from St. Joe, and Russell's got everybody back. Mandy does such a great job with them out there with Shaylin and the Ross girl and the rest of them. And but no, we've adjusted, putting in new offense since Michaela's out, and the girls have really caught on to it. And we got some young ones. We got Kai Robinson, the 8th grader, Kinley Woods, an 8th grader, Ella Sellers, the 9th grader. They'll all play a ton of minutes, and we're just young. So hopefully Carly and Cullip and Emma Ackrow, who are seniors, can help us through it. And, of course, we got Jordan Rakes transferred from Fairview. She's going to be a big help this year as well. So, we're excited. We think we could contend with anybody, and we'll be ready to go, man.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Bill, we'll need to do this again at number 30, and then that'll be 50 for Clem. So,
hopefully we'll still be around, man.
I know. I hear you. So anyway, thanks. I really appreciate your time, and I know people are going to enjoy this one a lot. It's you're so well liked and well known in Ashland circles now, for sure. You always were, really, and you always I give you that. You always give the Tomcats respect, even always. You always have. Even when you were a player playing against them or coaching against them. Sure. So I think you fit in. You fit in well with them, and you've learned how to wear maroon a little bit, right? Every once in a while. Yeah.
When Laura put the maroon on, and that's what it clinched it for me, because she's a Boyd County gal, and that pretty much turned the tide.
that would have to have done it for sure. Well, listen, we want to thank Bill Bradley for being with us, and we hope you'll join us next time on Tomcat Tales. Thanks a lot.